Thank you so much everybody for turning up tonight. I really appreciate your time. First of all, before I start to talk about this, to me, really exciting topic, which is strength training in the menopause, I'll give you a quick little bit of an introduction about me, who I am, and kind of where I've come from to get to where I am today. So first of all, my name is Monica Simmons, and I am a strength and conditioning coach that I have been for the last 14, 15 years now. I'm also a sports therapist, that's my university background, and I'm also a personal trainer. And my background is I actually used to play football semi-professional in Norway when I was in my teens, so I've been lucky that I represented Norway in football, so that's kind of where I came from. And I think it's fair to say that I'm a little bit more than average interested in anything to do with health, fitness, strength training, and all of those things. Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair representation. Now, I also used to coach in football, so I was lucky to work for Bristol Rovers Football Club, where I coached under 13 to under 16-year-old boys. And the key thing with that was to get them physically ready for the performance that they were going to have on the pitch, and to see if they would be selected for a professional contract when they got to age 16. So worked lots in football, and then now over the last few years that experience had changed quite a lot. So I'm really passionate about cycling. That's the thing that I really like to do now. So I work with a lot of cyclists, runners. I also work with a lot of people that have had knee replacements, hip replacements. And I also work now with older people, if we can call it that. I think it's fair to say 80 plus probably falls into that category now. And my two oldest and loveliest clients that I have are both 89 years old now. And I train them in their house, which is pretty amazing. That gives me a lot in my day-to-day job, and I think is fantastic. So I'm going to fill you in a little bit about that journey and how I can hopefully try to maybe change your perceptions and maybe misconceptions about strength training, because I think there is quite a lot of that out there, especially for us women. And 5 years ago, everything changed a little bit for me. I became a mum, so I've got a 5-year-old son now who's also pretty active, I think it's fair to say, football and cycling and all the rest of it, anything to do with the outdoors. And when you become a mum, your focus completely have to change. You know, your time becomes very busy, and you have to really prioritize what you spend your time on and how you can fit in exercise in day-to-day life. And that was obvious. You know, it's fair to say that I had all the time in the world before to really focus on my own training and my own performance, but once you become a mum, that has to take a little bit of a back seat. But for me, you know, it's my lifestyle and it's what I like to do day to day, so I've made it a real priority. And I can't no longer spend 2.5 hours on the bike, perhaps, if that's what I want to do. You know, the training has to be really specific, and I have to fit it in a shorter period of time now. So it's got to be quality that I do now, and be really specific about the type of training that I fit in. Now, before COVID, I used to run some fairly successful strength and conditioning classes for women here in Ilkley that was called Fit and Fabulous. We used to have over 25 women that used to come to that twice a week, and we did that for nearly 4 years before COVID started. And then as COVID hit, it all moved on to online. So it was loads of Zoom classes. I enjoyed that at the time, but I must admit that I prefer it in person whenever that's possible. There's a lot to be said for that, to actually see people's technique in person rather than on a screen. So now I work at a local gym in Ilkley called Heavy Metal Gym, where the majority of the time I spend one-to-one with people, but I also have like couples that come and train with me, their husband and wife, for example. And I really like that as well. In November, just 4 or 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I actually ventured into the online world, as it were, and I created my first online, it's called Core Sculpt program, and that is basically strength and conditioning sessions for focusing particularly on your core, so your trunk stability, your abdominal muscles, and your back muscles as well. It's been really successful so far, to the point now where I'm actually in the process of creating my next program, which is a full body program that people can use at home using kettlebells and dumbbells. That is the only 2 pieces of equipment that you need in those sessions. Hasn't been launched yet, it's coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. All of my kind of details is on there for anyone who wants to learn more about strength and conditioning moving forward, you can scan the QR code I'll show you at the end as well, where you can find out some more about that as well. So that is really me in a nutshell, and I will move on to this really exciting topic next that we're going to talk about today. So I thought this would cause a little bit of reaction as I put this on. I can reassure you, nobody will look like that if they start with strength training. But I have seen over the last 15 years that when I meet women in the gym, there is so much misconceptions out there, and you don't have to put your hand up really high or anything like that. You can probably just give me a little smile or a nudge if you have ever thought any of these things here. So the first of one that I get so often when I talk to women about strength training, I'm worried strength training is going to make me big. That is literally one of the most common things I hear from women. Number two, I don't think I'm going to burn as much calories by doing strength training as I will do when I do cardio. Yeah, there's a few nods in the room on that one, so that's good, we're on the right track. I'm worried of getting injured if I start with strength training because I might not know what I'm doing, could lead to injury. Also very, very common. And lastly, I actually don't know what I'm doing in the gym and I feel really intimidated. Completely fair point. Like, if that was me, I had no experience with strength training, I would be absolutely mortified walking into a gym, so I fully get that one as well. Now, just so I get an idea in the room now, this would be good if you can just put your hand up. How many of you are either doing any type of strength training now or have done in the past? Can you just put your hand up if there is a little bit of experience on it? Okay, so maybe 80-85% of the room has done some strength training already or in the past. That's amazing. That leads us nicely onto let's talk about what is the menopause and what does that actually do for our bodies. So you all know this already, I'm sure of it, but the menopause, really the definition is when you've been a whole year without consecutively periods for the 12 months. That's when you are classified as being in the menopause. Really, it's just that kind of one day, and then you move on to post-menopause. Now, I really don't want to exclude the perimenopause here because that period there before the menopause starts can last up to 10 years. That's a long time. The average age for the menopause to start in the UK is about 52. So actually for women, if you fall into the category of starting that a little bit earlier than average, well actually it could be from 35 onwards, maybe even sooner, That's just a rough guide. Now, what does that mean? What happens in the menopause? Well, our estrogen level really drops down in the menopause, leading to our bone strength reduces. That is like really important for us women to know that between the ages of 40 and 50, we can basically lose as much as 8% of our total muscle mass, which is quite a significant amount. And when you get to 75, that can accelerate all the way up to 15% from that decade, every decade onwards. So we're living so much longer now that the earlier we can start with good interventions to try and stop this decline, the better. Like, that is ultimately the message that I'm trying to get across here. And loss of muscle mass is often accompanied by loss of strength and also functional decline. Hopefully not for you guys yet, but probably your parents. I'm sure you've all had parents at some point that have broken a bone at some point in their life, and coming back from a break of a bone, in their 70s, in their 80s, can take a very long time. And actually, sometimes if we see someone that breaks a bone, for example a hip, as sad as it is to say, sometimes they don't make it out of hospital. So it's really important that we can be proactive as quickly as possible. Now, this might not sound very good, but the good thing is we can actually do something about this. So obviously the statistics are not great here. However, what is strength training and why do we need to do that? So strength training is typically an exercise that causes your muscles to contract against an outside resistance. So this could either be your own body weight, or it could be resistance bands like I've got here, for example a kettlebell, dumbbell, or of course any of the resistance machines in the gym as well, according to the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Now, it's really important to know that you don't have to have loads of equipment to start. There really is so much stuff that you can do with body weight only, and I'm going to show you quite a lot of that stuff today. That's what we're going to move on to. Now, the next thing to talk about is, you know, why do we need to do strength training? So you have all heard about, I'm sure, which all women hear about these days, is the dreaded word osteoporosis. Nobody wants osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a bone disease, you know. It's basically a disease that develops because the bone mineral density and the bone mass decreases. Or it can also be that the quality of the structure of those bones starts to change in that period. So osteopenia is the stage before osteoporosis. So I almost kind of think about it a little bit like the perimenopause before the menopause. So we really need to be aware of this period beforehand as well, where this is when the strength training comes in. We can do something before it develops into osteoporosis. It's never too late. Like, that is really important that you kind of understand and are on board with. It's never too late to start. Now, we don't want brittle bones. Load-bearing exercises is the number one thing that we can do for ourselves to prevent this. And I'm going to show you a video shortly of my 88-year-old client here at the time, who is just doing some very, very basic sitting to standing exercises in the gym here. And this is a very, very functional movement that you have to do several times a day. You know, you need to go to the toilet, you need to get up and down out of bed, you need to get up and down on your chair. So you have to ideally be able to do this yourself. Now, we're going to be doing some of these today, so I'm going to see how you're all doing with some of these. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that this lady has given me permission, of course, to use her video today. She came to me when she was 82, but it was actually her daughter that came to me at age 82 and said, I really need my mum to start doing some strength training, because she lives in her own flat in Ilkley now, and we're desperate for her to be independent for as long as possible. She had never heard about strength training before. We met in Stas in Ilkley for a cup of coffee. She said, I'm not sure it's for me, Monica, you know. I think I'm too old. And I thought, I'm going to have a little bit of a case on my hand here. But 7 years later, she'll be 89 now in June. She has kept it up throughout the whole time. I was off on mat leave, and, you know, she was on to me then as well. When are you coming back? I really need to keep up with my strength training, because it makes such a big difference to my day-to-day life. And she still lives in the flat unaided now at age 89, so nearly 89. So it's fantastic, and it gives me a lot to see people being able to still have that independence. Ultimately, that is the aim, right? I'm not going to turn anybody into professional athletes at age, you know, 75, 80, but we can really make a very big impact on their quality of life and also their longevity. There is no doubt about that in my mind. So, yeah, let's go on to our next one. So, let's talk a little bit about what other reasons do we need. And of course, most women are interested in this one. We want to do strength training in order to maintain a healthy weight. Sadly, as it is for us, when we're going through perimenopause and the menopause as well, our hormones changes and our body becomes less resistant to insulin. So insulin resistance, I'm sure you've heard about that lots if you've gone to nutrition talks as well. But having more muscle mass on your body means that your metabolism and your metabolic rate will increase. So that is a really key thing to kind of understand, that if your metabolism and your metabolic rate is higher, that means that when we're resting, our body just burns more calories just functioning day to day, which is a massive, massive advantage. And that again leads to, in the longer term, you can sustain your weight much easier, because your body just needs more energy to function. So that for me is a really important reason why we should do it. You know, it means that we can't, basically can't eat as much carbohydrates and sugar as we were able to do when we were younger. That's just a fact. But if you're adding in strength training, as well as lots of other advantages with maintaining a healthy weight, such as, reduce the chance of metabolic diseases, such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, I just think that the list there kind of is endless. Now, I want to talk about this one here, where you talk about you might use more energy during cardio training versus strength training. Now, what do we mean with this? So, if any of you have ever used kind of heart rate monitors, or you've got a smartwatch, you'll be able to know this from your own experience. Now, this is all to do with heart rate and intensity. So, as an example, say you were a woman who was 55, 60 years old, 70 kilos, and you went for an hour run. As a rough guide, depending on how high the intensity is, you might burn 450 to 500 calories, potentially, depending on how hard it is. Now, if that same person went to the gym, or did it at home, or wherever you did it, did an hour of strength training, maybe 350 calories at that time. Yeah, at that particular moment, 1 hour against 1 hour doing two different activities, yes, that is a fact. You'll burn less calories there and then, but as I mentioned a little bit briefer before, the afterburn, and when we are breaking down the muscles, that process requires extra energy, so we get an afterburn effect for the next 24 to 48 hours. And that is why I really can't stress enough that if your goal is to lose weight, as in fat mass, you have to include strength training. You know, that it's just a non-negotiable for me. I highly recommend that you do cardiovascular training, because it's no good being really strong and unable to move from A to B. So a combination of the two is absolutely optimal, but so many people don't include strength training, and I really can't kind of stress that fact enough, why we need to put that in there. So, next one, also very important, confidence. My other 89-year-old here in his house, one eye, plays golf and trains 2 to 3 times a week with his 6 kilogram added weight into his rucksack as well. Which is absolutely brilliant to be able to maintain his independence. But strength training is good for your confidence, right? So it's nice to feel strong, healthy, mobile, to not have any movement limitations, to be able to play with your kids, your grandkids, maybe even your great-grandkids at some point if you're lucky. Now, the more able our body are to do these things, the higher your chance of having independence for much longer, just increases massively. So yeah, I just think it's nice to show that, you know, it's possible and never ever too late to start. So let's just have a little look here. So this is me here lifting my son at home. I won't be able to do it for too much longer, but it does help in just day-to-day life, being able to do that now. Let me just check quickly whether it will allow me to show this next video here as well, which is quite a good one for us ladies in our shopping habits. Let me just see if it'll come on or not. Anyway, I'm not going to faff around with it too much, but it was basically me carrying 2 shopping bags, two heavy weights from the floor, and then I moved into then carrying 2 heavy shopping bags straight afterwards. So I kind of wanted to just show you that we're doing it for functionality in day-to-day life, so that you can actually move about. And the other point that we were talking about feeling intimidating about going to the gym, well, if you decided to go to the gym, I would really, really highly recommend, you know, that you see a coach or a trainer who's knowledgeable about strength training and get a good program together, because it's absolutely key that they take into your account your previous history, any injuries that you might have had, or anything that could be, you know, a challenge in terms of starting out. I really can't kind of stress that enough. It's worth the investment to get things right from the beginning. And because, as we know with strength training and any other type of training, technique is absolutely paramount. If you're worried of getting injured in the gym, doing it correctly and safely is really important. So, and the other thing as well, if you go to the gym, I can reassure you that nobody cares about what you're doing in the gym. Like, everybody is like probably in their own little bubble. Nowadays, most people use headphones, and they probably don't even register that you're coming into the gym. So please don't feel intimidated in the gym. You deserve to be there just as much as anybody else, and everybody will have their own insecurities, whether it's the way that they look or thinking, oh, I'm not lifting heavy enough. Who cares? Like, honestly, nobody cares apart from you. You have to just be your own you know, measure yourself against you and not against anybody else. That would be my sort of takeaway with going to the gym for sure. Let's see. So, this next one. Now, will strength training make me big or not? Now, this here, oh, it's not come on yet. Sorry, it came on my screen, but not here yet. Let's see. 2 seconds. Has it frozen the screen a little bit now? Let's see. 2 seconds. I knew I shouldn't have touched any buttons. Oh no, let's see. Is it on now? There we go. Yeah, great. So this picture here just is a representation of 2.2 kilograms of fat and also 2.2 kilograms of muscle, right? I'm sure you probably have seen this picture at some point over the years, but it highlights the point of muscle is much smaller and takes a lot less space than what fat does. Fat is big, right? It's large in volume and large in size. So when people say to me, oh, but the scales, you know, they're not changing when I start strength training. Well, that might be true in the beginning because the composition between muscle mass and fat mass is changing, and that process takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. There's lots of things like fluid retention makes a big difference when you start with strength training. But I think the point is here is that, you know, don't be scared that you're going to get bigger, because you will not get bigger from doing strength training, and certainly not doing the right type of strength training, which we'll come on to shortly when we're going to talk about how many, how often, how many reps do we need to do of strength training as well. So I like this picture as a bit of a demonstration. Now, do we need any more reasons? So strength training, maintaining physical strength is a really key strategy that leads to healthy aging. Like, it's more and more research into this area is coming out all the time. One of the higher guys in my strength and conditioning organization did a really fantastic study last year on people over 75 years old in care homes, and they had proper machines that got installed into the gym. It was a very expensive project, and honestly, the outcomes that they've seen there was a husband and wife trained together there, and they are just able to change all of these different measures, not just physical, but also mentally as well, because their confidence, their just the way that they move and can see that they're able to improve their physical measures makes them happier, right, in day-to-day lives. So I think it's also important to say that an active lifestyle supported by enough protein, which I'm sure we've all heard about. We know we need to eat loads of protein. How much do we need to eat of protein? It's not a nutrition talk today, but the average, the recommendation of 0.8 grams per kilogram per body weight for a woman is not quite enough anymore. Not when we're starting to get into these peri and menopause years, particularly if you do strength training. So really 1.2 to 1.4 per, which is higher than the recommendation. And that means really roughly, say if you're eating 3 meals a day and you weigh about 70 kilos on average, that's about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. That's quite a lot. 2 eggs is not enough. It's not nowhere near enough. You know, you might be getting 14, 16 grams there. So it's just looking at other stuff that we can include in our diet as well to really supplement that gain that we can gain from the building blocks of strength training. So it's just something worth to think about. Now, it's definitely clear now that the strongest and the fittest individuals are actually more likely to live longer and also healthier lives as well. So it's definitely something to consider. Okay, it has actually frozen on mine, but it's all right, we can see it on here. Now, how many repetitions do we need to be doing? So I actually was going to ask you a question here now, because I won't answer that one yet here, but I'm sure all of you have heard about high intensity training or HIIT training and circuit training. Do you think that comes in under the category of strength training or not? If you're not sure about that one. It's a tricky question. That's what it is. Now, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, the definition of strength training is 1 to 6 repetitions, right? So that is basically a load that you can't lift any more than 6 repetitions. Then we're moving into the hypertrophy or the muscular endurance category, depending on how many reps that you're doing. So you're all comfortable when I say the term reps, repetitions. how many times you're lifting a particular weight. Now, strength training, 1 to 6 reps at about 85% of what we call 1 RM. That means 1 repetition maximum. So ideally, in the big movements that we're going to talk about and do, you have to test that in order to know what that is. Otherwise, you're just guessing. So as an example, just say, oh, you were able to deadlift 100 kilos. Like, that's a lot of weight, but that was your 1 rep maximum. Now, if you're going to be doing heavy strength training with that particular exercise, you're looking at 85 kilos out of those hundreds there. That's a lot of weight, but you should not be able to do that any more than 6 reps. Then it's too light, you know. Now, strength endurance is classified as we're going above 12 repetitions. So really, that could come under the category of circuit training or also high intensity training. But this comes down to how long break we have between the exercises. When you're doing 1 to 6 reps of heavy strength training in the gym, how long do you think you really should be resting for then when you're doing that? 3 to 5 minutes, right? So that means that you need to either do something else, you know, maybe an accessory movement, as we would call it, which is a smaller type of rehab exercise maybe, or you just wait, you just sit down and rest, right? Now, that's just rough guidelines, and I want you to kind of be aware of this, because a lot of the time people don't maybe know what these numbers and stuff means. Now, of course we can't start by lifting 3 repetitions max like that. That's just not sensible. It's not safe at all to be starting with that. So if you were training at home, you are a complete beginner, you can't be starting with 3 repetitions maximum. We need to start with a much higher rep range with a much lighter weight. Of course we do. Now, also the other thing to say, if you were training at home and you were doing really heavy strength training, for example a squat or a bench press or something like that, you were lucky to have a setup at home, you need a spotter as well. That's the other thing to say. Like in the gym, you know, you'd either train with a partner or you train with a coach or a friend or something, because you don't want to be stuck under that bar at home at 60, 70, 80 kilos, you know. You've all seen these terrible, you know, when people get the bar across the here and stuff, it's like 70-year-old, you know, choked in Ilkley, you know, on the bench press at home. It's not a good heading in the Gazette, so please don't try that at home, you know. We really need to start with more reps and lower weights first in order to build up good technique. It's absolutely key that we do that. So what do we need to include as part of the strength training? So large muscle groups and large multi-joint exercises is what we should be starting off with. So I'll just give you a very quick demonstration. So you've all seen a body weight squat as we're coming down to the floor here, where we're using ankles, knees and hips and chest and core and basically the whole body, versus if I was just doing a very simple bicep curl from here up to here, single joint exercise. So I'm only using literally my elbow joint here and mainly my bicep muscle. Whilst when I'm doing the first one, which is a large, you burn out way more calories. Your whole body is working versus just isolating a very small muscle. So we want to really focus on the larger muscle groups when we go to the gym. It's much more time efficient as well, because you can add different movements together into one, you know. So I could potentially turn this movement here into a squat first, then I could come down, then I could curl it, and then I could even press it over my head, so that I do 3 exercises in one. Way more time efficient. You get loads more bang for your buck, basically. So that's what we always want to focus on, these bigger movements. Squats, deadlifts, push-ups and pull-ups are the kind of 4 big movements that we should maybe base some of the training around. And for example, I know that you've all heard about push-ups. I want to just demonstrate a little bit of like regressions that we can do to push-ups, because 95% of women hate press-ups and they're like, nah, I can't do it. I just want to. It's too hard. We need to find how we can do it properly in a regressive way, so that we're starting with what we can manage to build it up. So I'm going to show you some of that. Yeah, so that's what type of exercises we should do. Now, what about the difference between free weights and resistance machines in the gym, right? So free weights are, you know, kettlebells, dumbbells, anything that is free on the floor basically, or wherever it might be. Now, the advantages about using free weights is that it challenges your balance a lot. So you have to use your proprioception. You've got to be able to use your whole body to do that. But it does require good technique. So please make sure your form is good while you're doing it. That's when it's easier to get injured if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Now, machine weights, of course, they're set. The machine is set there. It's very easy to follow. Follow the instructions on the machine. It's very hard to get injured actually on there. And you can lift heavier much sooner because you're not relying on your own balance for that. So that is the disadvantage with that. And one isn't better than the other. You can do a combination of these two things in the gym, and I highly recommend that actually. I don't think you should just do machine weights, and I definitely don't think you should just do full free weights either. So a combination of the two is ideal. You know, you get the best of both worlds, and you can really challenge yourself in a safe and effective manner when you do that. Now, what about skipping? Skipping is a big one, and plyometrics basically is very, very good for the bones, and it does something to the bones that strength training on its own can't quite do, because it's very, very high on the bones. Now you might think, doesn't sound good, you know, I've already got a bit of osteoarthritis in my knees, you know, and that is something to think about. Now, it just has added advantages in the sense that the bones grow and get stronger when it gets impact as in jumping and landing on a surface. So it basically just means that you are producing maximum output when you are doing any type of jumping exercise. Now this person here, this is part of a double knee replacement rehab, and this is a very low level plyometric exercise. So it's a small step. He's barely leaving the floor, but he's still on one leg a little bit of the time, so there is some impact on the joint. But another example of a very difficult exercise and quite advanced exercise could be as if you are jumping down from this table and landing on the ground, or the other way around, you're jumping onto that table. Much more advanced and much heavier. Now, of course, it really depends on the height of the box, right? You could start with a really small box first. Again, I have seen some nasty injuries in the gym where people, you know, when they floor all of the skin off the front of their shin because they get caught on the end here. So please start really low if you can and build your way up when you do that. And it is really important to actually consult somebody before you do the plyometrics training if you think that you are able to do that, because there are just certain things that you just need to be a little bit aware of. Us women, I'm sure you will agree with this, weak pelvic floor potentially with jumping can be a problem if you've had children. Of course, osteoarthritis in the joints is something to consider, but there's more and more evidence to suggest that now that even people that already have osteoarthritis should do some jumping as well, if the advantages outweighs the risk. That's basically something that on an individual case by case you have to consider. Will it give me something added benefits, or is it actually going to break down my joints further than what they already kind of have? So I'm not saying everybody should do it, but I think if you're able to and functionally able to do it, I think it's a really good idea to do that. Skipping rope, of course, lots of people in the gym use skipping ropes. Great way to add plyometrics in a fun way if you like. If you like skipping, it's perfect. So you could always give that a try as well. Right then, so what about balance? So balance is really key to preventing falls. Now, I'm going to talk about what you can do at home, but I'm going to show you a little test now. So I brought some socks in with me today. I didn't want to show my feet, so I brought an extra pair of socks. So my Norwegian socks are out. So this is a little test that you can do at home. I'm going to get you to start to doing something in a minute. But can you stand on one leg, grab a sock, put the sock on, grab the shoe without putting the foot down, undo the laces, put the shoe on, tie the laces, and then put the foot down. And then do it on the other side as well. Yeah. So that is a really good way to check how it's doing. You can give that one a try at home. Now, a very, very simple test that you can do. You're going to do a test in a minute now. Not that one. I'll put my sock away now. A really simple one that you can do at home, of course, when you're brushing your teeth. We're supposed to do it 2 minutes, my dentist tells me. So that's 1 minute each leg, twice a day. Yeah. It won't take very long before you notice a massive difference in your balance. Trust me, it doesn't take very much at all. Now, another progression. So,
sorry, that's with your eyes open.
Yeah. You can progress to having your eyes closed, but definitely eyes open first. So, single leg, right? Just single leg, just standing on one leg. If that becomes easy, you can do that comfortable for a minute. Put your arms out. Yeah. Next thing, start to turn your head. Look at your hands, one side to the other. Next one, wiggle your fingers. Now there's a lot going on, right? My ankle, my fingers. My whole neural system now is like firing, and I'm not going to do it now because I'll fall, but you can then close your eyes. That's a lot. But that is very hard to do that. So there's lots of progressions that you can do there to really try and challenge yourself at home. But now, I think now, because I can't actually see the slides on here now, but we're going to do the flamingo test now, so I need you to come up into standing now. Make sure you have a little, just move the chairs if you need to behind you now, okay? So the flamingo test is basically lifting one leg up behind you. So all you've got to do is lift the heel up towards your bottom. Like, it doesn't have to be all the way up, just lift it up, hands on your hip, and then just stand there. So I'll give you like a couple of seconds to get ready, and then I'm going to time you. Now, these here are the numbers to aim for in your category here. If there's any younger, then we'll add on a little bit of extra time there. So I'm just going to time it, and then we will see where we are. Okay, so I'll let you know when we get to a minute. Are we ready? 3, 2, and go. Okay, hands on here. I just need to look at my watch, but keep going. Yeah, good. Now lift that leg up behind you. Yeah, it needs to be quite high up. That's good. It makes it a lot harder to get that leg up behind. Small bend in the leg that you stand on, so that the knee is not fully locked out. Good, you're doing very well so far. Don't lose focus now. If you're getting a bit confident, that's good. That's coming up to 30 seconds now. Well done. Very good. Great job. 35. Well done. Very good job. That's brilliant. 40 seconds. Well done. 45. Well done. I think you all passed your test on that leg. Now, because I bet everybody started with a good leg. Okay, we're at a minute, so well done everybody. Now let's try the other side. Yeah, let's try the other one and see if we can get there. Yeah, shake it off a little bit, and then we'll try the other one. Right then, 3, 2, and go. Let's have a look. Yeah, get that leg up behind. Yeah, looks good. Well done. Of course, shoe wear and stuff like that.
I mean, your personal space.
I know. I like it nice and close together. Oh, yeah, that's it. That one failed. Yeah, no, it's all right. It's fine. Keep going. Well done. Very good. 20, coming up to 25 seconds now. Well done. Very good. Great job. Just make sure that. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Gives you a rough indication of where you are. Good work. Well done. Great job. Come up to 40 seconds now. Well done. Looking good. Really, really good. Fantastic. 50. Good work. 55. Well done. Very good job. Brilliant. And relax for a second. You can just stay up for a little bit now because we're going to do a little bit more now. Right, time to move. Now you need your chair behind you now for this one, so make sure that the chair is directly behind you now. And I think everybody has quite sturdy chairs now. So we are going to look at some sitting to standing now on our chair. Okay, so this test here now, actually we're going to just do it to warm the legs up a little bit. If you have any medical conditions, any injuries or anything that means you can't do it, please just sit down. It's not a problem, but it's a good way to kind of check stuff that you can do at home. So first of all, arms forward, slowly lower yourself down onto your chair, and then come straight back up again. I want you to just do 5 of those for me. So straight down, straight up. Yeah, perfect. Well done. Great form. Very good technique. We're going to do 2 more here. That's good. Well done. One more. Little did you know you were going to do loads of exercise today. Good. And relax. Well done. Now, easiest way, right? Arms forward. It helps to balance our center of gravity. Make it harder. Arms across the chest now. Okay. Slowly lower ourselves down onto the step and then straight back up. Good. Well done. Perfect. Good. That's excellent. Well done. Very good. Nice. Brilliant. Just 3 more here now. Now we're going to have it's not a competition, obviously just competition against yourself, because I'm not competitive at all. And relax for a second, Now, I'm going to time you now for 30 seconds. I'm going to see how many you can do in 30 seconds. Now, you are allowed to have one leg slightly further forward than the other now, so you can basically choose your kind of strongest leg to be closest to the step when you're going to do it. Now, I'll give you a rough estimate. I don't have this table on here now, but between 11 to 17 reps. 17 is on the good side. That might sound like a lot. We've got 30 seconds, right? If you're closer to sort of 10, 11, then we need to do more work at home. So, we shall see. No pressure, no pressure. Yeah. Okay, are you ready? So you got 30 seconds now. Count your own repetitions, yeah? So just focus, count your own numbers. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. How many can you do? How many? Well done. Very good so far. Oh, I love it. It's a very sporty group. Yeah, it's good. Keep going. Well done. Great job. Well done now on there. You're doing really good. We're halfway point now. There's 15 seconds gone. Well done. Fantastic. 10 seconds, ladies. Go on. I was going to say girls there, but it's not appropriate today. 5 seconds. Go on. 2, 1. Time. Well done. Well done. Did anyone manage 20 or more? Ooh, very good. Yeah. I'm not going to say about less, but at least that gives you a rough indication, really, of where you kind of need to be, you know. So now, the other way to do, you should definitely test this one with your parents, if it's possible, and just give you a rough guidance to see where they are. Now, at home, of course, that's a really easy one. No weights, use your chair, you can do loads of squats on here. Now, to make that harder, we go slower. 5 seconds down, 1 second up, okay? So, arms either on your hips or across here. 5 seconds, we'll just do a couple. 5 seconds down now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then quick up. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then up. Perfect. Right, progression from this. One leg. Okay? So, one leg can be, so 2 options. The first, easiest option, it can just about touch down the other leg. Yeah, so it's there for support, but all of the weight is on the back leg, right? The same goes for the hand position here again. They can be forward, they can be here or here. Make it as hard or as easy as you want, but just try it. So try to just lower yourself down with one leg now if you can. Not much weight on the other one, and straight back up. Good, yeah? Try the other leg. Just compare it and see. So from there, very slowly coming down, slowly down, straight up. Much harder, right? Okay, the hardest one, again, don't forget, we've not got a single piece of equipment yet. This is just body weight only. Leg out in front of you now. Only one leg on the floor now. If you feel like you're falling, obviously, put it down. Slowly come down. Coming down. Keep the leg forward, keep the leg out. Coming up. A lot harder. Yeah, a lot harder. I'll let you sit down for a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Now, I can show these ones. So, deadlift. How do we pick things up from the floor? You've all seen this and heard about it. If we have a weight in front of us, shoulder width apart, chest up nice and high. We start to move by pushing our hips backwards so that our back is really flat here. No rounding of our back. The bottom pushing backwards, and then we're coming all the way down to the floor, and then we drive our hips back up again. So I'll show you again. I have a small bend in my knee, chest lifted up nice and high. Now if we're going to pick stuff up all the way from the floor, we can bend our knee into a squat and then come back up again. So this of course could be, you could use a rucksack at home, you know, add some weights to it and make that a really challenging exercise with just whatever you have at home, you know. So lunges, really key for single leg strength, which we need for walking uphill, even moving into running. So simplest, easiest version of a split lunge. I kind of would want you to do it, but it's not quite enough space. So I'll just show you. One big step in front of the other, both feet facing forward. Again, I can hold my hands across my chest here, lowering that back knee down to the floor and coming straight back up here. Okay, that's the easiest progression of a lunge, right? Now, how can we make it harder? Right, reverse lunge. I take a step backwards and then I come straight back in. So more dynamic now, a lot harder on the balance. Progression 2, step forward, much harder, okay? Straight ahead, knees pointing straight forward. Loads of women will bring that knee in there. It's really good if you are somewhere where you can see the lines on the floor, use that as a rough guidance and think, yeah, I don't want that knee to wobble in. I want it straight forward as I'm going into my lunge position forward here. Again, no weight, just body weight only. Now press-ups, I talked about that one. So you must have been told at some point, if you can't do a press-up, just do it from the knees, right? That is not the best way to progress a press-up because the position is completely different, yeah? A straight press-up that you're doing from the floor versus from the knee, it's just two different exercises. So it's not gonna lead you to the progression that you want. So I'm obviously getting warm now already, but from the side of a bench here, so I would actually start, there's not that much wall space. The easiest progression from a press up is to do it against the wall, right? Literally onto your tiptoes, if I can maybe do it here, onto my tiptoes, just in front of the wall, in line with my shoulders, and all I would do, you know, I can't quite get far enough forward as you can see, but I would lower my chest almost into the wall here, in a completely straight position. Is a really, really good way to start, just against the wall at home, okay? If you can handle that, 8 to 10 repetitions maybe, let's make it harder. Really good one, kitchen surface at home that you got. That's generally, it will be a bit higher than this, yeah? But then you will just come onto here, just outside of shoulder width apart. I hope this will hold my weight. Imagine if it collapses now. No, it'll be okay. From here, chest down towards the bench here, and then straight back up. Elbows in, no flaring of the elbows out to the side, and just the whole body straight as I'm pushing from there. And then all you would do, you just lower that height down until you're on the floor, essentially. So everybody can do a press up, but don't do it from the knees. Do it with a full kind of plank position properly from the start. It makes the progression way easier. And just some band pulls. This is just so that you can use and train your back muscles at home. I'll just use you, Katie, for my anchor. Okay. Yeah, so you can put that on literally on the side of your banister, anything that you can hold at home, one leg in front of the other, and all I'm going to do here is row towards me so that I'm pulling and using my back muscles here and my biceps as well at the same time. So bands like this are really diverse is the word. You can use bands and stuff like this for so many different good exercises at home, big muscle groups that you can use at home. You don't need lots of fancy equipment at all. So I'm getting there. Now, I talked about this before, that the average life expectancy for women in the UK at the moment, 82.9, right? So we're getting older, which is great, but it's no good getting to 90, 95 if the last 10 years is sat not really being able to move very much. In my opinion, if it's something that we can prevent ourselves and do something about. Now, there is no drugs for frailty at all, right? Maybe it will come in the future, but at the moment, no. And basically, frailty and its many linked challenges, such as falls and sarcopenia, losing our muscle mass and losing our bone strength and density as well. Now, I definitely believe that frailty is not a barrier to robust exercise, but is rather one of the most important reasons why we should do it. And muscle strength is also very key for healthy aging as well. That's not my opinion. Loads of research to support this as well now. Some take-home messages from today, really. Now, strength training is definitely safe when it's done correctly. Yeah, talk lots about that. Make sure you have a good program, that you have been shown the correct way to do the exercises first before you get started. Now, twice a week, start twice a week if you can, using large muscle groups, and build up to lift heavy resistance, 1 to 6 repetitions, if and when you are ready to do that. Don't start with that straight away, but try to build up to that on some of the bigger exercises. The advantages are massive to do that. Now, if your body is able to, and we talked about that as well, what you need to consider some plyometric exercises, jumping, load those bones so that they can get stronger, and if you did have a fall, that they won't break so easily. That's simple as that. And also a really key one, which we of course love, strength training will increase our metabolic output. We will be able to eat more and stay the same weight. Well, essentially, that's what it means, that actually we are burning more calories at rest, and it's a real advantage to our life. Strength training can also help with longevity, independence, and also confidence for sure. Right. This is my contact details on the screen here. Feel free to take a screenshot if you want of that. If you ever want to. Yeah, of course. And also, I've just been asked to mention these 2 services here in Bradford as well. It's the BEEP service, Bradford Encouraging Exercise in People. There are certain criteria that you need to fulfill in order to be qualifying for that program. But if you speak to your GP, there are certain health conditions and also your age as well, you might be eligible for this scheme here. It's a free scheme that you can be eligible for to help you with your exercise. And also this one here, Live Better Health Coaching. I believe they actually do an exercise class in Ilkley that you can also be part of. That's a 52-week, that one is a 13-week program, and this one is actually a 52-week program, so it's like a yearly program that you can do there. And the other thing I have just been asked to mention is that the next monthly talk is going to be about relate counselling on healthy relationships, and the information will be sent out about that to everybody who is interested in that. And just one last thing, and that is, it's better to be the oldest one in the gym. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, feel free, shout them out, or you can come and pull me to the side. I'll hang around for a few minutes afterwards. So